let her rip.
Sweet. You're off the dock.
All right.
We've just spent the past few weeks sailing our friend's 47-foot trimaran down the east coast of the USA. It was our first boat delivery and our first time ever sailing a trimaran. It was a lot of firsts. And it sparked a ton of questions. Because naturally, you want the real, the down and dirty, our honest, unfiltered opinions about trimarans, the NEEL, the dog, and how it all compares to our monohull and catamaran experiences. So we turn to our patrons to give us their biggest, hard-hitting questions. But first, we're gonna need a cuppa for this one.
Before we dive in, I want to make this one big disclaimer. These are just our opinions based on this one experience, and this is not inclusive of all trimarans, and not even inclusive of all NEELs. So please don't take it as fact. It's just our opinions.
This is all a moot point.
A moo point?
Yeah, it's like a cow's opinion. You know, it just doesn't matter.
First question. I want to know about the ride. I mentioned in our first day of sailing that, thank you, I didn't know what to make of the ride. It doesn't feel like I'm on a hull or a catamaran. It's just different. Just kind of bouncy.
Yeah, it feels like our experience on monohulls. The wind would hit the sails and it would kind of dig the rails a little bit closer to the water, and it would find its spot and just drive through the water. It felt exciting and like it knew where it wanted to go. But on a trimaran, on that trimaran specifically, it felt like it never really found its sweet spot. Like it didn't want to drive through because the waves would hit one of the pontoons and cause it to do that, and then that, and then that, and then like when you're kind of going into the waves, and it's hobby horsing as well. So we never felt
it like it just didn't have the same drive.
Yeah.
Like it never felt like it really dug in. And that could have just been because of all the different random things that were going on. We just never had that same sensation.
And compared to a catamaran, we feel like it definitely wasn't any better than a catamaran. So
there's that.
Yeah. Next question. What is it like to be in the pontoons in rough seas?
We actually did ask the crew about that because obviously we weren't down there in rough seas, to be completely honest. I think we went down a couple of times, like you did, to go get like a tool, but that's really it. Otherwise, it was just the crew that was down in the pontoons. And
Suzanne, on the really rough night, one of the last days of our sailing, she was like, I just take a deep breath and I run down, I get what I need, and I run back up, because being down there was disorienting because the waves were coming on that side and it was hitting that side of the pontoon. So she said it was so loud and rocking up like this because the waves were hitting it and rocking. She said it just made her almost nauseous to even think about going down.
Yeah, so she didn't like going down there. So she actually did sleep up top that night until the seas calmed down because she didn't enjoy being down there. But what's funny is that the day that we had Kara and Joe on board, there wasn't rough seas. It was just very normal, nice, kind of typical average sea conditions. They said it was loud, but they said more or less it was fine, but they were on the steady side.
They were on the low side.
So the waves weren't hitting their side. So I think it did matter where the wind and the waves were coming from as to how comfortable it was down in the pontoons.
And the other thing that Suzanne mentioned was one night it was raining and she was like, ooh, it kind of sucks having to put on your jacket, run down just to go to your bed, and then have to run back out in the rain. That was kind of a bit of a bummer. But I think overall, she said when the waves weren't that bad, it wasn't that bad sleeping down there. She didn't get tossed out of the bed or anything like that.
No, she said sleeping was generally fine. It was just loud and bouncy. Yeah, other than that, when the weather was fine, I think it was fine because she did sleep down there and she would go down there and relax. And so I think it was just on the rough days. But you did ask about the rough days. So there you go. How's the trimaran at anchor? The boat was amazing. I would almost say better
than our catamaran. I think so, because the pontoons are separated. Okay, we were in some really, really crappy anchorages where
right when we had that storm even.
Oh, in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
What's the wind?
38 knots! The boat is turned sideways. The river and the wind are coming this way, so it's hitting side on. And, sure, maybe the boat was tipping a little bit, but you couldn't hear the waves slamming into the pontoon because it's separated from like the main upstairs area.
So again, kind of going back to Katie and Craig, the owner of the boat, they got it because it's mostly just the two of them on board, and then they just have the occasional guest, and they loved the living situation for exactly that, for just a couple. So because we weren't sleeping, we weren't living in those pontoons, we were up top. It was stable and mostly
quiet.
steady, and it was pretty darn quiet, even on a very like choppy day where otherwise like our Leopard wasn't exactly the quietest boat either. So you would still hear like the slap of the hull and the water.
Especially if you're side to wind and wave. I mean, we were like,
and if you were in the hull, then yes, it was up top always better. If you were sleeping or down in the hull, then it would definitely wake you up at night if it was really rough. But slept like babies, regardless of what the wind, wave, and current was. So I would say at anchor, that was definitely a plus. I thought the Trimaran was really nice in that scenario.
Definitely. After sailing on Supernova, is there anything you want to add to your new boat? Yes. Craig and Katie just had their way with that boat when they went to design it. He did everything he absolutely wanted. It was his dream boat, he said.
It's a different feeling when you get to pick the fabrics and draw the diagrams and pick the sails, and I mean it's a really fun process. We went to France for a couple of trips to see it all. I mean, it's amazing because it feels like a part of you. Boats already have personalities, but once you saw it grow up, it's everything.
The number one thing for me is the big screens, the B&G glass helm where he connected those two big touchscreen monitors. That is a dream. It's not cheap.
No, that glass helm, we've been pricing that out. It's actually more expensive than just getting the
Zeus whatever chart plotter with the
right,
screen built
which
in.
I didn't expect. I would have thought, well, but now you're not getting that expensive screen. It'd be less. No, it is not.
They want to get you anyway.
I know. Like Craig kind of went all out on every technical aspect. Every toy, he wanted it. And then I don't blame him, but I don't think we would do two screens, but one for sure. But how big it was just so much larger that while you're underway, it didn't matter. You didn't have to get so close to the screen to see what was going on. You could see it from like the back of the boat. So I liked that, like just the visibility and just not having to like kind of finite look at something.
And the live workspace. So if you're going to be working from that navigation station with your laptop, you've got now this massive screen, or using like a little mini computer that's hidden away. You don't even need a laptop when you have those screens.
The other would be the bean bags. Yeah. That was kind of like a twofer because we just came off of Ticket to Ride, and Frank and Mary Grace had them on that boat. And then we get over to Supernova and we had them there as well. And then it was kind of like, we're going to have to buy these freaking overpriced bean bags.
So ridiculous, but they're awesome at the same time.
If you've got a trampoline up front, it's the perfect lounging spot. Just that, and that's it.
For sure. And we got the ones that actually float. So in theory, you can throw them in the ocean and float on them. We'll see when we...
And they're not supposed to hold sand and everything else. So we'll see if they're worth the... high price point, but same thing. Like Katie and Craig asked the same question. So did you like find anything that you wanted or that you're gonna add to your new boat? We were like, the Fat Boys, basically, and then the Fat Boy lamps that they had too. Anyway, so we did like that.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Is Jason getting a dishwasher?
We made an entire video about the dishwasher on Supernova.
Because we've been traveling around the world in various tiny homes since 2011. And the number one thing we've always argued about?
Do we need a dishwasher? And it's always been like this hypothetical debate.
And Jason did use that dishwasher almost every day, except for while we had crew on board. Because the first thing everybody's like, you make a video about the dishwasher. And then first thing out of the gate, there's Jason hand washing dishes.
That was because the dishwasher wasn't made for 6 people. It just doesn't fit that many dishes. Yeah. So the answer is maybe. Maybe I'll be getting a dishwasher. And what I said at the end of that dishwasher video was the smartest thing to do is for us to get into our new boat, live with it for a while, figure out where everything goes. And then if we have like some extra space or we can migrate some things to different places, then...
And we feel like we can give that space up. Then
yes,
I feel like the dishwasher is fair.
HH doesn't have it as an option. They actually designed the boat before thinking about a dishwasher. So the cabinets are all custom. They're a custom size. So they're slightly too narrow for that dishwasher that we used on Supernova.
We've tried looking up loads of dishwasher models, and they're all too wide. So we've tried searching, and then I found one model, but it's an in counter, or they call it in sink. But I've only found one, and it's like 3 to 4 times the price of all the other dishwashers. Yeah, so, and I've only seen a few reviews on it. So it's not something I know anybody that has one that's like, I love this unit. It's really awesome. Totally worth getting.
So if you have any experience with the NSYNC style or another countertop version, or I don't know, one that's slightly smaller than the Bosch that we had on Supernova, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, our boat is a 230 volt boat. We made that decision consciously because most of the world is 230 volts, and we're picking up the boat in Asia, which is also 230 volts. And that means our American 120 volt electronics won't work.
Which means we can't shop in the USA for any appliances, which creates an interesting challenge. But thankfully, because of today's sponsor, we have a workaround for that, which is Surfshark VPN, because Surfshark is an app and browser extension that lets us change our IP address to virtually place ourselves anywhere in the world.
So we've been virtually appliance shopping in the UK. And why the UK? It's because we want all of our electronics to have buttons in English. And we want to be able to read those error codes whenever we get them.
So that we actually know what's wrong. So thanks to Surfshark, we have been researching and buying products as if we were sitting in London. But it's also handy for avoiding geo restrictions on sites like Amazon Prime or Netflix. Plus, it encrypts our online data and serves as our ad blocker so that we can surf in a clean cyber ocean with no ads, trackers, malware, or phishing attempts.
It's an invaluable tool for us. And right now, if you use the discount code WYNNS, you'll get 83% off plus 3 months for free.
Yep. And if you're not sure if it's a good tool for you, no worries. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's really no risk to try it out. Just click the link down in the description box below or click on the QR code that Jason will put somewhere on the screen. Next question.
How did the dog go to the bathroom on the boat?
Very good question. So, all right, first of all, I saw about 9 million questions asking what breed of dog Yoshimi. So Yoshimi is a girl, and she is a Bermudoodle?
Bermudoodle, yes. A Burmese mountain dog mixed with a poodle, believe it or not. That doesn't seem like that would work.
Nope. We obviously are not like super educated about the breed, but I will say she was an amazing dog and I absolutely loved her. So I clearly recommend the breed, I guess. I don't know.
They called her a cat dog because she was pretty darn quiet and awesome.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
So how did she go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Well, when it was calm, it was just like normal. They had the spot on the front of the trampoline that she pretty much went to every time. And whether that was poop or pee, if she needed to go, she would just let herself out and go.
Yep. And I will say that anybody we've ever known that owns dogs, and even Curiosity, our old boat, the original owners had a dog. They had 1 or 2, I can't remember. But same thing, they had a little piece of fake grass that they attached to the trampoline, and that was like the designated spot for the dog. So lots and lots of people use the trampolines, at least on multi-hulls. The monohulls,
I don't know. Yeah.
They just poop on the deck and then rinse off most of them, or you have to take the dog to shore. So I'm a big fan of just go on the net.
It was pretty incredible that she could let herself out and go to the bathroom on her own. We obviously took her to shore quite a bit and had a lot of fun walking her. But she was able to do her business. We didn't have to worry about it. Now, while we're on passage, it was a different story. When it was calm, we were able to walk up there with her, and she went.
Yeah.
But when it was rough, she was not happy. Nobody was really happy. So you can't expect her to be super happy about those.
No, and then the problem is seas are rough. So now you've got, sea spray coming up through those trampolines. So it's not, I didn't want to stand there and neither did she. So we tried taking her up a couple of times, but it was not a good scenario for anybody. So what we ended up having to do was actually stop the boat,
turn around, go with the waves. So it was the most comfortable angle possible. Put her on the leash and take her outside. Yeah,
we pretty much contained her to the cockpit, mostly indoor area, at all times really while we were on passage, unless it was super calm.
And we had this idea. We went and got a bunch of puppy pads, and we thought, okay, well, she can go in the shower, while we're underway, so that way we don't have to take her up front in case it's too rough or in case the water's splashing too much. But no, she was
not changing her habits for us. It was something we would have had to have tried leading up to, and we didn't because, well,
It is also super loud and super uncomfortable in that shower when you're underway beating.
if it was
against the
rough,
waves.
crappy seas, it wasn't great up front at the bow, and it wasn't great down below either. So everybody wanted to stay up top, including Yosh. So
That's the dog.
Yeah.
That's her business. Next question.
What did you learn from the rocket scientist? That's referring to.
Hi, I'm Casey. We're Endless Playtime. My wife, Erin.
Hey, I'm Erin.
We've got 2 kids on board, Gunnar and Paige.
They were both rocket scientists. And I think, the main thing we learned was how to be terrible crew and anchor with the mainsail up.
Right, the mainsail down. Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Oh, I guess we have work still to do. More work to do.
Yep, pro crew right here.
The help station.
Everybody was having such a good time. Nobody even noticed that the main was still up until we all got ready to walk inside.
God. Yeah, we didn't talk too much about rocket science or anything.
No, we
particular.
did ask. I mean, we have chatted a little bit about their experience of working at SpaceX, and I think that they have a podcast on their website that kind of goes into a little bit more of that. So I'll just link to them, and you can go check them out for yourself.
We did talk about satellite internet, and
We did. Yes, we did.
because we actually had Starlink on Supernova. We wanted to do a video about it, but we just kind of ran out of time. But we talked with them about Starlink, and they love it as well, but they think the same thing as us, is that it's just...
So it's going to get capped eventually, and it's already not available everywhere. Just because it's satellite doesn't mean that there aren't blackout zones, because there still are. I think those will start to fill in, but as more and more people keep coming on, and there are a lot of people coming on, it's not meant
for offshore cruising.
No,
So,
not yet. They do have a marine package, but that marine package is like $5,000 a month or something. So everybody right now is just using like the RV package.
Yeah.
But they're going to clamp down on that eventually, just the same as like T-Mobile and Google Fi and everybody else.
and all the others over the years have clamped down on unlimited
Cell phone.
plans and travel
International
and internet.
cell phone plans. Yeah. So
Exactly.
we're all still on the fence. I think it works great for now. And if you can take advantage of it, for us, I think we're going to continue to pause and wait until we see what's going to happen with the pricing structure, because otherwise they're just going to shut your account down and it would be a waste of money and time. So that's where we are in that.
That's a little side rant.
Yeah.
Are you more or less confident at the prospect of handling multiple foresails after this experience? It's not necessarily any more confident. Really, our confidence came from being on Ticket to Ride. So
Yes.
we were super fortunate to be in French Polynesia with Frank and Mary Grace on Ticket to Ride right before we took on this project.
Yeah, because it was just like back-to-back experience, and it was really like Frank and Mary Grace had spent a lot of time with us putting up every single sail at every single angle. They just taught us so much during that time frame, and we just kind of thought we were going and we would get a good feel for the boat, learn a little bit about maybe what to expect from RHH and everything else, and then it really just turned into like a big learning adventure for all things sailing, which we were so very grateful for, still are. Thank you, Frank and Mary Grace. And I feel like, coming off of that, getting on Supernova just felt like nothing.
We were just like, oh, look, there's a staysail, and oh, there's a reacher. And, granted, the reacher and the spinnaker were both in need of repair, so we didn't get to fly those. But the jib, we flew the jib, or the staysail, and we flew the Genoa, and no real problems there. So...
yeah, it was like zero intimidation on handling the boat in that aspect. It was close quarter docking. Like that was where I made me nervous. I was just like, don't scratch or like bang up somebody else's baby. That was the nerve-wracking part. And then the rest of it was all just figuring stuff
figuring out the mainsail.
Yeah, but the like having multiple sails, like no, there was no worries for that. No. How did you feel about the speed of the Trimaran?
Oh, man. We never saw the speeds that we truly thought we should see or that we wanted to see. When we invited Casey and Aaron and Will down to come and sail with us, we thought for sure all of these professional, racers and professional sailors, they're going to get this boat moving. We're in perfectly calm conditions.
We're calling them professional. They might not. They're very enthusiastic. They sail a lot. They race a lot. I'm not going to call them professionals just in case they're not. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't check their card. Their professional cards.
I'm like, I don't know what makes somebody a professional.
But anyway, we were hoping to get a lot more performance out of it, considering we were in this glassy, protected waters with 15 knots of wind. I think the most we ever saw was
7 knots.
6.5 knots of speed inside there.
We are going for maximum performance, so we are sailing to what the sails tell us to do, and we are going to get this puppy moving in this calm bay.
I felt like the boat was capable. It just didn't happen for us.
And then Casey, he was like, no, we can do it. And then he looked at all the photos on the NEEL website of it, really underway. And he said, all of the shots have it flying the spinnaker. And because we didn't fly the spinnaker and we didn't have the reacher, then we probably didn't get the type of performance that somebody else with a NEEL 47 can get out of it.
Yeah, with maybe a different sail setup. I think it's capable of more than what we actually saw, because even our boat Curiosity was capable of doing far more than 7 knots. We could, perfect conditions like that, we could do 9, 10, 11, no problem.
Yeah. Maybe not with 16 knots of wind, but.
Well, we did on even just the test sail day, whenever we went out with James and Ann, we were doing 10 and 11
we had 20 knots of wind.
That's true.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How is the space? 2 hulls versus 3.
I said it a lot in the tour of Supernova. There is so much storage in that boat.
How about another storage area?
It is incredible. That is storage that you would not get on a similar sized monohull or trimaran.
Monohull or trimaran?
Or catamaran. Definitely the living space being all up top has its perks for sure.
Welcome to the cockpit. It is a lovely space on this boat. Might be my favorite, actually.
Being able to have that whole space in the bedroom up top with those big screens and being able to see, wake up in the middle of the night while you're underway and the person on watch is outside, you just pop your head up and you look at the instruments and you can see, okay, everything's good, and just go right back to sleep. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah, again, like at Anchor, I thought that boat was absolutely fantastic. Like, the layout was really nice, the bed being up top, it really did feel kind of like a New York studio apartment. And I think that for a lot of couples, that's a really nice scenario.
Yeah. Why didn't the new crew have a seasickness patch on?
That is probably referring to Kara.
How you feeling, Kara? All right so far. Ask me again in about 30 minutes.
Kara knew that she was prone to getting motion sickness. And trust me, she did come fully prepared. She had stuff in her system already. And she had a phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 as far as medications went. So she did come fully prepared. And it didn't matter what she took. She wasn't going to magically get better.
Never felt horrible.
She had a whole variety of things. She had talked to her doctor before. This was not her first rodeo as far as motion sickness goes. And it just wasn't going to happen. So she was prepared, quite honestly.
Kara's boat already feels like crap, so.
Or Suzanne on her episode that we didn't capture that, but she did say that she threw up just a little bit. It's because the morning she woke up with a headache because of not sleeping very well, because the waves and the motion of the boat kept her awake. So she had this massive headache, so she took an ibuprofen, which seems like no big deal, but on an empty stomach.
Already, like on a boat with a lot of motion, it's not a great combo. It will upset your stomach. So we were like, right when she told me, she was like, I woke up with a headache and I took an ibuprofen. I was like, no, take acetaminophen or something else, because ibuprofen is known to be a little rough on the stomach. But otherwise, like, everybody was prepared, and Suzanne did amazing. That was really it. Yeah. Like, otherwise she was pretty good. Joe was great. It was just that. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. You can't just, there's no sort of like magic wand that gets waved for some people. So I think that's that.
And for me, as far as getting seasick, I know several people asked about that. I did not get seasick, but it definitely could have happened easily because the emotion was so different. Yeah,
the emotion was different and
rough,
but only on the one night, really. Every other day was
coming out of St. Augustine.
It looked intense because that's the pass. Yeah. So
I was like, when we turn right,
it's gonna be
when we turn to starboard, this is gonna be bad. But no, it ended up being fun.
Yeah, and it was short-lived, like, because it's, you got a half an hour or whatever, an hour to get out of that little zone, and then it was my sea state after that. So, how easy is it to sail?
In general, it's no different than any other catamaran or monohull. It's just a sailboat. with a couple sails.
Yeah, I felt like the position was generally fine. Everything was right there at the helms. Generally, it was fairly easy. Reefing, I mean, aside from all the little like issues and all
the rudder issues and all the feedback issues we were having, we would just forget about those.
Yeah, but if you're just talking about the helm position and the sails and everything else, it was not a difficult boat to sail at all.
The whole hand grinding the Genoa furler, that was, I don't know why it was so hard to sort of get in. It just took a long time. I really wish that winch was powered, or it was easier to hand furl in like we used to do on our old Leopard 43. I'm not sure what was happening there, but that was a little bit difficult. And then the reefing, for sure. The reefing was, in theory, you can reef from the helm just by pushing the buttons, and you bring in the reefing lines, the forward and the back reefing lines, and that tensions the sail so you don't have to go forward. But in reality, all 3 lines from the back and all 3 lines from the front all went through one little friction ring, anti-friction ring, I think that's what it's called. And they would twist around each other and then just make it really hard to get through. So you had to have someone up there.
Yeah, so you were at the mast and you're pulling and helping those lines come through. So it definitely always became a 2-person job. It was not just a 1-person job.
And that being said, the purpose of having that type of reefing, because then now you have someone out there and sees where you're trying to reef.
But we were having a conversation with another sailor who was on a completely different boat. I think he was like on an Outremer or something, and he said he used to have the same issue. And so he was mentioning like, hey, if you basically just do some tweaking and it will make that whole thing so much easier. So I think sometimes just with a new boat, it's once you get to working something, you figure out a better way of doing things, or rigging something that works better for you. So some tweaking, and I think that boat would be very easy to sail.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest question, cat or tri, which is better? Would you buy a trimaran?
Yeah, it seemed to be the overarching thing that everybody wanted to know. It's good. They got to draw a line in the sand to make it a this or a that. And I'm just going to start off with saying, like, the best thing about Supernova was the owners.
Yeah, Craig and Katie are just amazing people. That's the nice, and Yoshi. You know?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Yoshimi. If I had to rank you all,
sorry, Craig and Katie.
They would put Yoshimi before us too. So nobody's taking any offense to that. I think we all choose the dog. No, Yoshimi was great. Craig and Katie were amazing. So they're friends. We loved them. We liked spending time with them. We didn't mind troubleshooting their boat with them. Like, it made it more fun and more enjoyable, like the whole process. So it's hard to say. Yeah. But the thing is like, we already did like a little interview portion with Katie and Craig, and they said they chose to actively go from their 40-foot Naughty Tech to this 47-foot Trimaran, and they love it. They think it's better in every way. They love everything about it.
Your Naughty Tech, is there anything about that boat that you miss?
I love that boat. There's nothing I necessarily miss, because this one is just better in every way. But it's price.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this boat is a lot bigger. You know, it's 7 feet longer, it's 5 feet wider. The space is just beautiful, especially the cockaloon area, so the living space, the galley's big. But for me, the biggest selling point is the master bedroom.
So for them, absolutely. Now for us personally,
no, I'd rather have our Leopard 43, and definitely I would much prefer our HH44 that we're building over a Trimaran. So,
well, at least over Supernova.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like we haven't. This the only Trimaran we've ever sailed. So like you put us on.
I can't say that.
Yeah, exactly. You put us on a Dragonfly or a Rapido or something else, and that could completely change our mind. It's just this one experience. So
but it's like full circle back to the disclaimer. Like when Katie and Craig would step on board, and her eyes would just light up, and she'd be, I freaking love this thing, and this thing, she just loved it. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? Different boats for different sailors.
And that's the thing, and that's why it's so hard to even make these videos and give opinions, because you're like, whatever I think, somebody else thinks exact opposite, and it doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. It's just a personal preference. So I loved the experience. I liked that we got to do everything that we got to do, and spending time with them and learning a new boat. Like we took away so many different things from the whole experience.
Yeah, like a gaff rig. Now I know what a gaff rig is and how to rig it.
Exactly.
Never make that mistake again.
Exactly. So it was such a good experience in so many different ways. But it doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, I'm like in the trimaran camp now, or that I want to get rid of my HH to go and get a NEEL. No offense, NEEL. It's just, I still have my preference. And there are plenty of people that'll still choose their monohull at the end of the day, or what have you. But there you go. One isn't better than the other. No. Different, just different.
So where do we go from here?
I think that's it. Yeah. That was the last question. If you've made it all the way through this, thank you. You were very, very interested. Yeah. I hope it was insightful and that we answered.
I thought we had an ending like, hey, join us on Patreon and something, but maybe
probably should, yes. If you're really interested in coming sailing with us, you want more behind the scenes and more of these Q&As if you actually enjoyed this.
Longer than this one?
We do more of those over on Patreon, so come join us over there.
Thanks, guys, very much for being here. We couldn't do it without you.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.